Hello guys, I'd love to welcome you to this tutorial of business studies. This is a tutorial which has 4 series of lessons on business and business transaction rather, and business documents. Today we will consider looking at the topic which is business transaction. Alright, so business transaction is the topic that we are looking at. And under business transaction, we'll consider the following specific outcomes. The first one, we are going to define what business transaction is. After we've defined the business transaction, then we are going to identify 3 different business transactions. Having done that, we will also explain the 3 different business transactions that we'll have identified. And then we'll get into a conclusion where we'll have a summary of everything that we have looked at. After that, I will invite questions from you guys, and then you can contact us on the number that is going to be given below. Okay, so what is business transaction? Pause for a minute and think about the term business transaction. Do you remember the meaning of the term business transaction? Well, in case you have forgotten what business transaction means, I have a definition for you. So business transaction is simply an exchange of money for goods or money for services and other things. What this entails is that money can be exchanged for products like soap, sugar, tea, and many more other products. Money can also be exchanged for services like legal services, teaching services, medical services, and many other services and other things. So the exchange of money for these goods and services and other things is what is referred to as a business transaction. There is another definition of a business transaction, and it is an act of buying and selling of goods and services. It is an economic event that initiates the accounting process of recording in the company's accounting system. So when business transaction begins, it prompts you to have an economic event that will initiate accounting process of recording in your company accounting system. Alright, let's proceed to the types of business transactions. How many types of business transactions do you know? Alright, I'm going to provide you with the different types of business transactions that I have prepared. You may have types of business transactions, but here is also a list that I'm going to provide with you. There are basically about 3 types of business transactions, and these include a cash or bank transaction. We also have a credit transaction, and we have what is called Vada transaction. Okay, now you can see that I've also included bank transaction. This is simply for the sake of explaining what a bank transaction is. Otherwise, a bank transaction is no other than a cash transaction. You will see in the next slide as I explain about different types of business transactions. Okay. Types of business transactions. We have a cash transactions. Now, what is a cash transaction? A cash transaction is an act of buying and selling of goods and services where immediate payment by cash is made. Now, I want you to underline or to take note of the word immediate payment by cash. Cash transaction is all about immediate payment. It also involves the immediate exchange of goods and services with cash. Now, the records of cash transactions are used to prepare the cash account. We continue with types of business transactions. So we have examples of of cash transactions. And the following below are examples. As you can see in this picture, there is an exchange of cash. Money is involved. People are exchanging cash. This is what it is meant by cash transaction. We also have a picture illustrating an item being exchanged for money. So an item is being exchanged for cash, and this is happening instantaneously. It is happening at the same time, and this is what is referred to as a cash transaction. Okay, let's move on to the next type of transaction, which is a credit transaction. What is a credit transaction? Okay, a credit transaction is an act of buying and selling of goods and services where payments are made on the future date, or if you like, at a later date. So the difference between a cash and a credit transaction is that in a cash transaction, payments are made immediately, whilst in a credit transaction, payments are made on a later date or at a future date. In a credit transaction, goods and services are collected even before payments are done, though it will be done later. Okay, you can collect your goods, bearing in mind you are going to pay for them later. This information of credit transaction is used to prepare subsidiary books such as purchases daybook, sales daybook, etc. This takes us to the topic of books of original entry. We shall look at that in the next series of lessons when we come to books of original entry. Okay, now we also have a bank transaction, like I alluded to. A bank transaction is no other than a cash transaction, except it does not involve money. So a bank transaction is buying and selling of goods and services by check. There is no handling of cash. And we have examples of bank transactions such as Zango bought goods worth 150 kwacha by check. So there's no handling of cash. Another example is Kapisha Primary School paid electricity bills of 4,000 kwacha to Zesco by check. So there is no handling of cash again here. It is a cash transaction except there is no handling of money, but a check is involved. We have examples of bank transactions which include internet banking. You can pay cash through internet banking. You can use your Visa card, for example, to pay for your goods online. And you can go to the bank and pay for your services by check. You deposit a check. So the next picture, the other picture on the right here is showing you a Zanaco bank where you can go and deposit your money when you are paying for something. We also have a third type of business transaction known as barter system. What do you understand by barter system maybe before I can explain about this? Well, this is a system of exchanging goods for goods. For example, a bag of salt is being exchanged with a bag of groundnuts. So a bag of salt and a bag of groundnuts are goods. And we see that these goods are being exchanged and there's no money involved. So barter system is simply exchanging of goods for goods. This type of business transaction are never recorded in the books of accounts. Okay, let's move on to the examples of barter transactions. You can see in this picture, these two women are exchanging a good for good. This woman on your left has an orange, whilst this woman on your right has a banana. And they're exchanging an orange for a banana. And this is an example of a barter system transaction. Let's look at this image. In this picture, you see two men are exchanging goods for goods. We have a fish being exchanged for another good. So, these are examples of barter transaction. Let's see what we have in conclusion. In conclusion, we've looked at business transactions. And in business transactions, we've also said that there are types of business transactions which include the following. Okay, so we're going to look at the meaning of the following types of business transactions. We've looked at cash or bank transaction, and we've looked at the meaning of credit transaction. We've also looked at the meaning of barter transaction. Now, if you have any clarifications, please kindly use the WhatsApp line given there below for all your questions, and we'll be able to attend to you. We shall be very, very grateful to listen to your feedback. Okay, so here is an exercise just to evaluate and assess your understanding of this lesson. The first question is, state 3 types of business transactions. The second one is, what is meant by business transaction? And the third one is, an exchange of goods for goods. For example, a bag of salt is being exchanged with a bag of groundnut. It's called what? So you put your answer in the space provided there.